Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 233 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. That's Trev. It's a full house here for this episode where we will be getting into the new look, which is the old look. That will be coming in the game as the Washington Commanders reveal their new uniform. In the cool down, we're going to be talking about how the NFL is king in DC. Despite championships and multiple other sports, Washington Commanders remain atop fandoms in the DC. So we'll be talking about that, kind of sneaking in some of that other discussion on our Nationals, who have some big news, and the Wizards, who've made a few moves themselves. All that coming up in the cool down. And then here in the warm up, we're going to be talking about the linebacker room. Now, if you missed our video, you're going to want to check that out on Monday, where I made a bold claim that the Washington Commanders have the best linebacker group in the NFC East. So we're going to be going over that. I'm going to be calling out those Philadelphia Eagles fans who wanted to come at me for my particular one. Note that Stoner had it reversed. He did have the Eagles at the top, did not jump on the burgundy and gold glasses with me. But Trev, where do you, well, before I get to you, Trev, we got a lot of good people already in the chat. Locked on Lawn, JG, Nathan in the house, Doug here as well. Jared coming in, Trevor as well. We appreciate you because we do stream live every Wednesday here, 7:30 Eastern on YouTube and Facebook. So we appreciate you when you get to join the conversation. When you do join, make sure you hit that like button for us. Make sure you're subbed up and make sure you give us a listen. We're on the Believe Network. So it means we have a podcast as well. So you can catch us wherever you get your podcasts. Set that up to auto downloads. It helps the Believe Network show that you do like us, and then they can maybe help us out a little bit, get some special guests and stuff if we get enough good traction. So we appreciate it there as well. So that being said, now Trev,
yes sir,
linebacker rooms in the NFC East.
Okay, I didn't get to see the video Monday. I work a lot on Mondays, so I come in this thing hot. So real quick, I guess we got the Giants who have who? For real, though, who?
The Giants have Bobby Okereke.
Okay. Good. Who's good?
And,
yes, he is
and
good.
Micah McFadden.
Okay. He's always – I don't know. He has our number 2 for some reason. Like, he was always showing up when he played against us. Anyways, all right, so they're definitely last. Then you got the Cowboys. You have –
Well, so that's actually where I made a mistake is
maybe they might be
guy – the top guy that I had listed is actually an unrestricted free agent. So they really don't have a name in their linebacker.
They have Kenneth Murray Jr., who they signed from Tennessee, who was their top tackler and their defensive captain. So, I mean, he's not a name, right? He's not a big name.
Right.
But so they've got him, and then they've got that Demaravian.
Oh, Overshown.
Yeah. Of course, he might not even play this year because of the knee injury he suffered last year. And then they brought over Jack Sanborn from Chicago. Defensive coordinator Eberflus from Chicago brought Sanborn over, but he started like 3 games last year.
Okay.
That's who their linebacker crew is.
All right. Well, currently they're last, just from that right there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Here comes the hard part. You got Zach Bond out there. You got Nakobe Dean out there. You got probably somebody else out there, too.
They drafted, and with their 32nd pick, Jahad Campbell, right?
John Campbell.
So that's all. That's depth right there, something we don't have at the spot. We're not as good. So then you come to us. We got the OG of all the linebackers in NFC East, Bobby Wagner. Then you got that lightning in a bottle, Frankie Luvu, who, get him paired with the right defensive coordinator. You see what he can do, and he's been in the league for a few years. Like, this is not somebody brand new. This is his 3rd team. So
yeah, and he's actually he has consistency in his. I was looking that up as I was looking at all the linebackers, and I'll get more into this later. But he's actually put together several good years, and the Carolina years were fantastic,
but they
even
were
better than what we're seeing here in Washington, surprisingly enough.
but they just weren't winning. So that's why people were like, "Who's Frankie Luvu?"
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
We had a Bobby Wagner role in Carolina and in New York too, and that's probably why he's produced more than he did for us this year. Not saying he didn't produce, but what Nathan just said. So, and then behind those two, we just signed the UCLA kid who's Ken Norton familiar with. And then we've got Jordan McGee, who is a wait and see. Literally, he is, because he was hurt last year. But everybody on the staff in the building and the players, even us, are pretty high on him. So we're going to go ahead and add him onto that. Man, I saw a lot of people lost it because we have Bobby Wagner. We're automatically the best. I might have to – that's tough. I will agree with that, just name alone and accolades alone. But when it comes to depth and stuff, it might be – Really?
I'm going to stay consistent when it comes to the draft picks, and all throughout the position rankings, we have not given a lot of value to the draft picks. Abdul Carter probably got the most nudge, but that was because he's a top 3 pick. Yeah. But even when it came to the line, we noted that Connerly Jr., even though he's a first round pick and he looks like he could be the starting right tackle, you don't know what you're going to get from him. And an end of the round linebacker, I mean, that could be anything. Okay, yeah. That could be a Jamin Davis, or that could be a
Bobby Wagner.
A Bobby Wagner. You don't know.
You're Ryan Anderson.
Ryan Anderson in the second round. Like it is going. I understand the hype there, and then like even Stoner mentioned they got Trotter Jr. out there who saw all of like 200 snaps.
True. Brandon Graham's gone now, so.
Like they have a fantastic duo. I'm not knocking them for like they have a fantastic duo, and I've said the difference maker is Bobby Wagner. So I just pulled up his PFF for this because people were pointing to Zach Bond being the top PFF linebacker. So
he's number one.
He's number 1. Bobby Wagner was 3, by the way. Bobby Wagner, his worst PFF, he doesn't have any yellow. He doesn't have any like orange, yellow, anything on his total defensive rating in all of the seasons he's played. The lowest rating he has is a 66.6, and that was in his second year in Seattle. The guy has been consistently one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And he had a great year. He was the 3rd best linebacker according to PFF. He is cerebral, and yes, that was the difference maker to me. Frankie Luvu's had consistent strong seasons. Nakobe Dean struggles to stay on the field. These are things that even the Eagle fans talk about. So yeah, I gave it to Bobby Wagner. I'm getting more into the Zach Bond aspect, but I'm sorry that's just where it fell to me. Now, KZH has a point here. You can't call the duo on the team with the worst run defense. They weren't the worst, but they were bad as the best duo. That doesn't make sense. Linebackers do play a hefty role in the run defense. Sure. They don't play the solo role. I would knock the defensive line more than I would knock the linebackers. Now I would argue we don't really have a thumper. We have a cerebral middle linebacker and Bobby Wagner, and we have this wild card in Frankie Luvu, and the fact that he's just going to fly around and sometimes over the offensive line. But we don't have the old school thumper that would
like be Brian Urlacher,
like a Brian Urlacher or Bostic in his heyday was more of a thumper. Not when he got here, but that's a run stopper guy. That's a guy who is there to they like the defensive line. They're there to plug a hole. And that's not the linebackers we have. But I'm not knocking the linebackers we have for the fact that the defense as a whole was bad, because I'm sorry, when we get to safeties, you got guys like Jeremy Chin last year who were flying around and missing tackles. So it wasn't just those two who contributed to a poor run defense overall.
I think the more that I've thought about it and the more I've kind of studied it, if you will, about the linebackers, I think right now, today, Zach Bond is a better linebacker than Bobby Wagner. Or let me rephrase that. Zach Bond had a better season than Bobby Wagner had last year. Not leaps and bounds above him, but you can't have a guy who was a no-name at the beginning of the year and by the end of the year be 5th in the defensive player of the year voting without him doing something special.
He did.
Right?
He had a very special year.
He had a special year and he was very good. So you have to give him that credit. But it's not like Bobby Wagner was 25th in certain rankings or values or metrics or analytics. He's right up there. So you give Bond a little bit of an edge because he was on the number 1 defense and Bobby Wagner was on the number 18 defense or whatever they were, middle of the pack type defense. But when you start looking at the depth, that's why I might have a little bit of an issue putting the Eagles over the Commanders, because Nakobe Dean is probably not going to play in 2025 because of the injury that he suffered in the playoffs. It was a knee injury. It was a tear of the patellar tendon, I believe. So he's not going to play. So you just can't tell me that a draft pick, to your point, Nathan, you can't just all of a sudden anoint a draft pick as a better linebacker than Frankie Luvu. And Frankie Luvu's no world beater, right? He does move around and he does fly around to the ball. I can't take a Jihad Campbell, a guy who's done 0 in the league, over a Frankie Luvu, and that kind of tips the scales for me. I don't like getting into Jordan McGee and Jeremiah Trotter and the Dominique Hampton and King Medrano.
We as a podcast should probably change the word group to duo, because that's literally why we're including why I did.
Yeah, but
group,
sure,
but,
yeah,
true. But like Nathan said, Jeremiah Trotter had 14 tackles last year. Okay, he
had more than Jordan McGee.
Right, he probably had more. That's my point, though. We can't really figure those guys into the mix because we don't expect more than that. You don't expect Trotter to all of a sudden play 1,000 snaps.
No, but I expect him to have a bigger role because Brandon Graham's gone. But our depth is unproven. After the 2 we have, it's unproven.
Okay, so after Zach Bond, if Nakobe Dean doesn't play, you're telling me that Trotter Jr. and Jihad Campbell are proven?
No,
Jihad, it's not proven, but at least they've seen what Trotter can do and everything. We have no idea what Jordan McGee can do in a game at all. Yeah. Period.
And there's no doubt in that. The thing is that this is, and all of our position rankings have been heavily favoring the starters, because once you get to the depth guys, like if this is no different than talking about wide receiver 6 and 7. Like you're splitting hairs at that point.
Right, exactly.
Okay? And most of the sets that you're going to see on both of these defenses are going to have a lot of 2 linebacker sets. So when you're talking about the 3rd linebacker, the 4th linebacker, you're talking about a guy who's going to probably see 200 snaps. He's a special teamer.
Yeah. Right.
And if you want to get into special teams linebackers, I mean, you got a guy like Nick Bellore. I mean, it's, to me, you're right. We said group here. It's group in the graphic, but that's because yes, those, if they were, that's a splitting hairs thing, right? Because
if there was 3 linebackers, then you would still say group. If there were 4 linebackers, if they played a 3-4 or something, or if they played 4 inside linebackers, it'd still be the group. So by group, you're not really saying every single linebacker. Yeah. You're just saying who are the guys who play the majority of snaps for the team.
The whole thing is, since we do run a 2 linebacker set majority of the time, our depth for a Luvu to have a breather or a Wagner to have a breather is who. That's my point about
and that's actually what I do want to get into. I'm gonna pin my Zach Bond information here, and we'll get back to that one because Eagles fans all chirping on that video about that one. I do appreciate JG, by the way, trying to take some of the heat. JG was coming to my support, and I appreciate that, JG. You have my back and much love, much appreciation there. And because of that, we're going to answer your question here because it goes in line with what Trev was saying, right? JG says, I keep hearing that McGee is going to specialize in pass coverage. If that's true, why did we draft Medrano? Now, a reminder, Wagner played 99% of the snaps.
And Luvu 98.
In 98. And Roger here calling Bobby out. Roger says Bobby has lost a step or two. He is slow in coverage. He cannot play 99% of snaps this year. Can't ask him to do that. Need someone to step up, either Jordan or Dominique or Medrano. Roger doesn't say Medrano, but I'm adding in Medrano there as well. Back to JG's question, where do these linebackers fit? If McGee is going to be the coverage specialist, where does Medrano, who was drafted this year as an undersized linebacker on the third day, much like McGee was, a lot of hype around his athletic score, but his size says maybe more of a safety? That's one of the things Joe Witt Jr. is trying to figure out right now. Is he more of a Jeremy?
And see, that's kind of not my problem, but it's a little bit of an issue when you're drafting these guys, and then when you get them here, it's like, all right, what do we do with it? It's like, don't you have a plan with almost every single guy that you draft, as much as you study the draft and Adam Peters preaches, we're going to go get our guys. And so if we just literally brought him in because he said, come get me, and he's been coached by Ken Norton for 2 years, cool. But and
he's a sick athlete.
Right, sick athlete, sweet. But now we're sitting here trying to figure out how, if you think about it, 3 draft picks within the past 2 or 3 years are going to fit on this defense. If you include Dominique Hampton in there, because he didn't see any game time last year, and he was drafted as a safety and played safety in college, but now rumbles is that he's in the linebacker room. So yeah, it's like.
But I don't think that the front office thinks that way. I don't think they think about where he's going to fit, where certain players are going to fit in terms of this year and certain positions and all that. They look at a guy and they look at, as we've talked about for the draft, they have their BPA list where they're going to pick. And then they look at the guy and they just figure out who's the best guy. They don't look at it and say, where is he going to play in 3 years? They don't. They're just going to stockpile as best they can the best players, and it doesn't matter what position they are. They don't care if they've already, let's just say they have Luvu and Wagner, and let's just say McGee is already proven he can be Wagner's backup, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Dominique Hampton has proved that he can be Luvu's successor or whatever. That's not going to stop them from drafting another linebacker.
No, it's not.
They're gonna draft the BPA at that draft pick, regardless. I'm saying I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it, but I'm saying that's what they've proven they're going to do no matter what.
So when are they going to make that position a priority rather than a diamond in the rough situation? We can get one in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. When is it going to be in the 2nd or 3rd round?
Trev, I think that's where Stoner's kind of getting at, where when you're talking about the draft, there's no real position of priority, especially now that you got the position, right? You got the QB. So unless you're drafting top 5 and you're looking for a QB, you're not putting a priority on any position. You were literally just going to take the best guy available, trust your coaching staff to go free agency. And trades, that's where you're going to make a priority, where you're look at Tunsil coming over, right? You're like, we need a left tackle. That's a priority. Let's trade for one. Hey, we need a second wide receiver, a dynamic athlete. We're going to go trade for Deebo Samuel. We have one of the worst coverage corners in the whole league. Even if we finished in the top half of the passing defense, we got to go get Marshawn Lattimore. That's where your priority. So the question is when do they make it a priority? I think they already did when they signed Bobby Wagner and when they signed Frankie Luvu, one of the few players who got a 3-year deal from Adam Peters' first free agency.
And then when it comes to the draft, they're not thinking about need. They just don't. And their number one need was edge. How many edges did they draft? Zero. They
signed him, though.
They drafted a right tackle
Right.
or maybe a future left tackle. Didn't matter. He was the best player available, and that was not the priority. And that's just what the way that's their philosophy. Whether you like it or not, that's what they're going to do.
As you're both sitting there saying that, I'm realizing where my opinion is coming from. The previous coaching staffs drafting for needs.
Yep.
I'm getting this linebacker thing because Jamin Davis was taken in the second round because we needed a linebacker, so we took one in the second round. I'm doing this because we needed some line help, so we went and got Chase Young, but that was the BPA honestly too. But so maybe that's what it is. I'm just not used to having things.
I will never fault them for taking Chase Young. That guy, the only reason why he wasn't 1-1 is because you had Joe Burrow in the same draft. If you don't have Joe Burrow in that draft, he probably goes 1-1 to Cincinnati, and Washington's taking somebody else.
Joe Burrow.
Well, that's my point is, again, QB is the lone position where you actually in a draft, you shoot for. Because you have to get your guy. Look at Atlanta. I know they got a lot of flack for it, but going after Penix Jr., it was much maligned and laughed at during the draft week at the draft and the week after the draft. But now they're sitting at potentially having their franchise quarterback because they stuck at 8 and took that guy. Now we're not talking QBs, we're talking linebackers. And while the draft is not where we're going to find out what's in a McGee and what's in a Madrano and what's in a Hampton, right? Yep. But when we're looking at comparing the guys that see the field the most, it was real hard for me to not put Bobby Wagner at number 1. Zach Bond had a fantastic year, had an absolute fantastic year. Let me talk Grimjaw real quick before I do get back into this Zach Bond thing here. Grimjaw was talking about and had mentioned this a little bit, but he says, I believe Witt Jr. said they're trying to find out if Madrano could be a Jeremy Chin or is more of a McGee. That's great to have for McGee insurance rotation too. I do think that these guys like their linebacker group. I think that the athleticism is what they're looking forward to. Now you need to pair it with the Bobby Wagner smarts. Bobby Wagner sees the field 99% of the time because even though he's lost a step, he can still be the 3rd best linebacker in the NFL. Age will eventually catch up to him. We hope that age catches up to him after he dons his gold jacket and not before.
And a Super Bowl ring.
And a Super Bowl ring here in DC. We hope that that's the case. But if you're looking, I'm not going to predict what a rookie's going to bring, I'm not going to try to predict when age is going to settle in because there's guys who, like Tom Brady, year after year just kept coming back and playing at a high level. And there's other players who have managed to do that. I mean, Jerry Rice played for a long time. Darrell Green played at a high level for 20 years in the burgundy and gold. So what I do look at is past performance when trying to garner this. And this is where, I'm sorry, Zach Bond isn't moving any needles. Okay. This is not, and I'm not alone in this. Okay.
He was a nobody before Philly.
He was a nobody. The Eagles, I went back and I looked at Eagles' reaction to this. I actually have their Reddit up right now. And
gross.
Here from Total Ad 9942 1 year ago. Bruh, just once, I'd like Howie to sign a quality linebacker. Oh, he's going to be a special teamer. Oh, yeah, well
this was after they signed Bond.
This is after they signed Zach Bond, rather. Sorry. They did not like this guy. They thought that he was a depth piece upcoming trade for our secondary. They didn't think that this guy was anything more than like the 3rd or 4th linebacker and going to be used on special teams. And why would they think that? Why? Because this guy had a total of, let's see here, 600 snaps. Prior to he more than doubled his snap total.
And how long has he been in the league?
Eagles. Okay, he's been in the league now. This will be his 6th year coming up. He had 4 years in New Orleans, 1 year in Philadelphia. 600 snaps, and his highest rating, he had a 71. Outside of that, he had a sub 50 and a one right at 50. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not believing in the guy for his one wonder season. He might produce like that again, and I will give him all the credit in the world. But even the Eagles fans thought they had some kind of a dud when they got him. And they want to come after me in the comment section of our linebacker video and talk about Zach Bond as if he's Bobby Wagner and this legendary linebacker. And why would you knock him? And then they want to come after me for the fact that I won't use the same logic with Bond and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels had one epic season in the NFL.
Same as Zach Bond, right?
Best rookie season of all time. A little bit better than Zach Bond. A little bit better. But in the same realm of this guy had a fantastic year, right? But it was only the 1 year. The big difference is one was taken at pick number 2. One was a Heisman winner. One showed that he had that skill set prior. Okay. And that it translated into the NFL. The other one had a pretty good college career over in Wisconsin, was drafted in the 3rd round, was a bit of a dud in New Orleans, and then had one fantastic year. Those are not comparable. Those are simply not comparable. We saw what Jaden Daniels did in the college game translate to the best ever rookie season. Okay. We did not see that in Zach Bond. And then we had, again, 4 seasons to show that Zach Bond, maybe not an NFL quality linebacker. And then he has one quality season, a great season that I'm trying to give him credit for, but Eagles fans trying to sit there and try to tear us down in the comment section. But I'm sorry, go ahead and squawk all you want. You do it all the time. 55-23. Yeah, we get it. We get it.
You can be talking about the price of gasoline, and they'll just pop in and they'll say 55-23 and be like, well, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Wisconsin ain't produced nobody that's worth even a conversation about since Rod Dane. Okay, so
Jonathan Taylor might have something to say about that, but go ahead.
Where's he at? And Indianapolis, fighting his own ankles. He can barely stay on the field now. But anyway,
I mean, J.J. Watt, by the way, was a Wisconsin.
Okay, outside of him, Zach, he was a linebacker. He was a linebacker in Wisconsin. Let's think about that. Like,
yeah,
he's not. Jaden Daniels was a quarterback, the best position of all sports, the most whatever position of all sports, and at LSU. He was on TV every day playing big time schools. Zach Bond, unless you were a college football fanatic or grew up in Wisconsin, you did not know who Zach Bond was. So outside of the professional thing, he's a linebacker out of Wisconsin trying to make an NFL. He's going to have a harder time being drafted 3rd round. And the logic, Jaden Daniels has had 1 year in the NFL. Zach Bond has had 4 or 5 years previous to get it right. And it took him that long to get it right. So yeah, that comparison is literally like,
hey Trev,
not valid.
Ever heard of Tyler Biadasz?
I said linebacker. Linebacker is what I said.
Linebacker. My bad.
Trev's sounding a lot like those Philadelphia fans right now, moving those goalposts. When he realized he was a little bit off, he was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of a Wisconsin linebacker?"
But literally, go to linebackers. How many of them are have made it as fast as? I'm just trying to piggyback what Nathan's saying. It's not a comparison.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
With you. Ever heard of Joe Thomas?
Yeah, he's
not a linebacker.
Yeah,
linebackers.
You ever heard of Russell Wilson?
Yeah, exactly.
The 1 year in Wisconsin. It's just it.
It's not a comparison.
We were doing the rankings, and I honestly believe that the Washington Commanders are the #1 the linebacker duo.
Yeah.
Maybe you have an argument for the depth and stuff, but I'm sorry, I don't rate the 3rd and 4th linebackers as much if you're not seeing the level of snaps.
Right.
1,200 snaps for Zach Bond. Frankie Luvu, 1,200 snaps. Nakobe Dean, only 880. And that was his big knock. That's like, he just can't stay healthy. 1,200 for Bobby Wagner. The rest of those guys, Eagles had a couple guys who were, Jeremy Trotter and stuff that were trying to fill in for Dean, but they didn't see, those level of snaps. So I'm not rating them as high. Yes, Trev.
If Brandon Graham was still there, would you rate them higher than us?
I mean, he's more of a lineman, though.
Yeah,
he's an edge.
And that's where Parsons, right? Parsons is an edge rusher.
Abdul Carter,
like 90% of his time. Abdul Carter, probably going to see time on the line. So it's just like we're not rating those. Maybe they could be an outside linebacker.
Because they were in college and they come here.
Yeah, but they're being used as pass rushers on the line the majority of the time.
As Roger pointed out earlier, that's exactly what Zach Bond was in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
He was an edge guy.
His last year, they tried him as a linebacker, and then his last year, they put him out as a pass rusher. Mm-hmm.
But we also had one guy who had about 4 or 5 different, negative takes towards what we said. And his last one said something to the effect of, you guys are supposed to be a Washington podcast and you don't even know that Frankie Luvu is an outside linebacker. And I lit into him pretty good. That, I said the guy played 79% of his snaps as an inside linebacker. He gets moved around a little bit, but he's an inside line. He's an off ball in the box inside linebacker who gets moved around once in a while. And I said I threw a bunch of stats at him, and then I told him to kick rocks. And then I believe we lost a subscriber. So
no.
Oh, no. Oh,
I mean, sometimes you just have to when somebody says something that it was a little bit derogatory in terms, and then told us that we don't know our own team, and trying to tell us that Frankie Luvu is an outside linebacker. No, he's not. At least not on this team.
In case
he did in previous years, but
that person still wanted to watch and they wanted to hear one of the reasons why. PFF has a fantastic. Whether or not you like their rating system, I don't care about that right now. They do something that I think is fantastic, and they actually do the snap counts, and they tell you exactly where these guys are lining up. Every single snap. One.
Yeah,
811 snaps. Frankie Luvu was in the box,
right?
And he was only a left outside linebacker for 197. He was a right outside linebacker for 175. So whopping 372 snaps he was playing as an outside linebacker compared to being in the box and inside linebacker, whether or not there's 200, 154, middle linebacker at 59, and right inside linebacker 192, right linebacker at 202. The guy was an inside linebacker. When you're running a two linebacker set, that's really all you got.
Yeah, exactly.
They ran.
He's an outside linebacker, but he played it inside on this defense. Okay, get over it.
And he does play outside on sometimes. They'll put him on the edge.
What did we just say? Abdul Carter, Micah Parsons, they're linebackers, but they're playing defensive ends. Okay, so don't sit there and say, "Oh, you guys don't even know Micah Parsons. He's a linebacker." No, duh. But he's lining up on a defensive end. Okay.
Yeah, I mean sometimes Micah Parsons plays nose tackle. He comes over the center. He's not a nose tackle.
Deron Payne, that man rushes from the end sometimes.
Yeah, an elephant end. Yeah. He's still a defensive tackle.
Absolutely. Washington ran a 4-2-5 or something close to that. A nickels coverage or nickels defense.
Yeah.
80+% of the time last year.
I can't wait.
They had 5 DBs out there. So they did a 4-2-5 basically.
Yep.
80+% of the time last year. You can't tell me
defense.
You can't tell me that Frankie Luvu, who played 98% of the snaps, was lining up most of those times as an edge. He wasn't. Sorry, dude. Kick rocks. Pound sand is locked on.
Subscribe somewhere else, sucker.
Yeah.
A couple of
anyway, that
questions
got me
here. We
riled
have one from Mike. Is Ryan
Yes.
Kerrigan still on the coaching staff? He is. The role he has is he's a pass rush specialist.
Yep,
Is
exactly.
what he
Pass
is.
rush
That's
As he
his
should
role,
be.
Mike. That was the question there from Mike. And then KZH asking question for y'all guys, and this is linebacker adjacent. I'm hearing a lot of great things about Joe Witt Jr. Is he really all that? I have my doubts. Now, KZH did go on to talking about how the defense struggled and that Joe Witt Jr. should shoulder some of the responsibility. Well, I'll tell you who also agrees with you, KZH. Joe Witt Jr. Joe Witt Jr. If they made like coaches gear and sold it like they do jerseys, I would have a Joe Witt Jr. polo
Sure,
or shirt. Like I'm not a visor guy. I got a large noggin, but I would have a Joe Witt Jr. visor. Absolutely, the guy is 100% worth it, and he's going to do better the better personnel he gets. Jay Reyes here going to bat for Joe Witt Jr. Our defense went from 32 to 19 with average players in defense. So yeah, I trust Witt Jr. for now.
when
Go
you
ahead,
have a defense, especially the pass defense, which was top 10 last year. Let's not forget the third pass defense was top 10.
Mhm.
But when you have a pass defense with the likes of St. Juste, Forbes, and Sanders still back there, two of those three guys don't belong, and they still were a top 10, even when those guys were playing prior to Lattimore, prior to letting Forbes go and putting Noah I out there, putting Sanders still on the end. He does some really good things. He was a little bit hamstrung with the personnel he had last year, and I think this year's going to kind of be the same thing. They're going to be a middle of the pack defense at best, I believe. But look what he's working with. He's got a lot of holes that he has to try and fill, and he has to do it creatively. We've heard the elephant end. We see Frankie Luvu moving all around. We see the moves from Sanders still inside, outside, back to inside, and Noah I and all this stuff. So we're going to see what he's really about this year, I think, as well. But there's a lot of pressure on Joe Witt. I believe there's a lot of pressure on him because what's going to hold this team back, if there's anything, is going to be the defense, not the offense. The offense was top 5, and they improved the offense.
There were times where the defense did bail out this team. Now, I know a lot of people put a lot of stock into the offense and what it did because it was a fantastic offense, and you have the 6 come from behind victories that are led by the most talented QB in the NFC East. And so I understand that, but there was definitely times where the defense held for 3 quarters. What they didn't do is they didn't hold for 4 quarters. The losses to the Eagles, you can point to the first loss in the regular season. That was a defensive collapse in the 4th quarter.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
And the championship game that the Eagles fans live high on, that was 4 fumbles. And from the offense that the defense was just not able to recover. That defense, as poorly as they played, because Saquon was running wild. Okay, there's no doubt that the Eagles were being fantastic on offense.
The Eagles.
But that particular game was still winnable right up until that final fumble.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree with that. That final fumble did it.
Also, to not only that, I trust Dan Quinn and his staff. First of all, number 1. Number 2, they were together on defense in Dallas. Dan Quinn was a defensive coordinator. Joe Witt was some kind of passing game.
He was a pass coordinator, defense coordinator.
So this is his first year of actually controlling defense, I guess, for us or in his career. So you got to cut a little bit of slack there too. But yes, he did perform well with no-name guys, bench warmers, cut guys, and he passed a top 10 defense. I'll start raising my eyebrows if our pass defense for real, if we still win 10 games at the playoffs where our passing defense is shoddy and we actually relied on our run defense, that's how we got there. I'll raise my eyebrows then because we have much more better talent. Yeah, it might not pop out, but Jonathan Jones, Sanders Still, Noah I, Lattimore, and Trey Amos is on paper by far better than what we had this year. So if he does worse with better talent, I'll start to raise my eyebrows. I can't say he's the real deal now because this is the first time we've actually seen him like on a team coaching. We didn't pay attention to him in Dallas. He's in Dallas. For one, he's in Dallas. And two, he's a passing game
Or
coordinator.
Green Bay or some of those other stuff.
So he came over with Dan, so I automatically trust him. But I don't know if he's the real deal yet. I will get a shirt, like Nathan said. But this year, like Stoner said, this is the pressure a little bit. Because he took us to the NFC Championship with a crappy secondary and kind of reached to make it somewhat formidable to get us where we wanted to be, and we went to the NFC Championship. Now you've reloaded with better things on paper, and if we don't make it, we win 8 games or something like that, and it's part of it's passing the secondary, I'll raise my eyebrows. But it's a little early to say real deal. It's been one season.
Yeah, and there's KZH has some good points in terms of the defense last year. You give up a lot of runs. There's less incentive to throw the ball, so they're not going to throw the ball as much. And you didn't face a lot of tough quarterbacks throughout the year, right? But when you get to the playoffs, right, and you go into Tampa Bay and you hold Tampa Bay to 20 points, Baker Mayfield, and remember the running back, I can't even remember his name, who had a great season, right? And Mike Evans and that whole deal, and you're able to hold them to 20 in Tampa, you're doing something right on defense. And then you go into Detroit and you turn them over
Detroit
5 times, something like that.
Yeah, but
how
many points did we allow?
I don't remember the score.
35.
What was it?
I think it was like 45, 35, something like that.
Okay.
It was the shootout.
Well, there was a lot of points given up late. There was a lot of it was close at halftime, and Washington put that thing away. And I guess you can rewatch some of it on Netflix because the quarterbacks Netflix series.
It's awesome.
They go into the Detroit game, and the Detroit fans all thought they were going to have 2 games in that stadium, and were crying. Jared Goff's wife at the end was crying. But also, Trev, that's a high-powered offense. They were going to score points regardless.
So that's what I'm saying. Get ready because we're about to face even more high-power offenses.
Lucky Irving, by the way, is the Tampa Bay. Thank you, Uptown Dre, for that.
And it was 45-31.
So, okay, well, there you go. So if that's the prelude to a high-powered offense, y'all, we better buckle up this season because we're facing some high-powered offenses.
We do face
Absolutely. And I think Joe Witt I think there's pressure on him. I don't think he's on the hot seat because let's not forget, we all trust Dan Quinn and what he's done with this team, right? This is Dan Quinn's guy.
Yeah, but it's also Adam Peters.
You can't say he's Kingsbury. Kingsbury is Dan Quinn's guy, right?
Right.
Joe Witt is his guy. He brought him from Dallas, from the defensive staff that he had over there, and anointed him as his DC. So he gets a little bit of leeway with Dan Quinn, right? But if you have another season where you struggle to stop the run, when you struggled to stop the run last year,
and you went out,
then next year he's gonna be on the hot seat. I don't think he's on the hot seat, but I think there is building pressure on him for sure.
Yeah, the water's boiling.
Well, I tell you what, that water is tepid as all get out for me. Again, I would love some Joe Witt jerseys or something, some kind of polo or whatnot. And I kind of like that new look Washington has, even if it is the old look. That's what we're going to be talking about here on Ref the District. Stay with us. Big news coming out of DC today for our Washington Commanders was the new look. Now, it's not quite new. It is a callback to the championship years, and my man Luvu rocking the new uniform here. I figured the linebacker, since we had that good linebacker discussion, deserved to have it. If you haven't seen the new uniform, it is, like I said, it's a callback to the championship years in Washington when they were a dynasty with Joe Gibbs in the Hogs. It's got the stripes on the helmet. It's got it's a clean white jersey with the solid numbering and the stripes, and then the pants, the burgundy pants have stripes as well. Washington is going to wear this 3 games, 2 Sunday night games and Christmas Day against the Cowboys. So they're allowed to wear an alternate jersey 4 times in the season. They'll be this one 3 times. The black jersey is going to get 1 take. And if I had my guess, it's probably going to be against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah,
it better be
for the black jersey. Gonna run it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna run it back. So yeah, now it's time. Uptown Dre. That's kind of the main talk here. Was supposed to be the jersey talk, but we had some good conversation with that linebacker on that one. Yam think it loves and fire on the jersey. Trev, I know you're saving up every penny right now to get yourself a jersey. Whose jersey in this fashion? By the way, the queue for this on Fanatics is insane. For Jaden Daniels jersey in this is don't bother getting in line anymore.
Just an FYI. Just an FYI, that was a fake queue. That was a fake queue. It was a joke. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. It was using the queue for the tickets.
The tickets. Okay, I missed that. Like that's what I get for only thumbing through social media like for 30 seconds.
It was a joke, it was not an attempt to fool people. It was a joke.
Just a joke. There we go.
Yeah,
but I imagine it's going to be hard to get this jersey.
Big time. You're not going to be able to get them until probably like November. Even if you want to pre-order right now, it's going to be a while till you get it.
That's fine. I can wait.
I mean, they nailed it again. There is a massive amount of love that I've seen everywhere for this new uniform. It's perfect. You can't do it any better than what they've done, and also the way they rolled it out as well, using social media as the way to do it. I love every part of it. It looks amazing. It has all the stuff that we've always wanted. And the only people who don't like it, there's 2 groups of them. One who didn't predict this, right? They want to stand on their things. Oh, I hate it because, I wanted that. I thought they were going to do something else. And the other one is what Trevor was doing there, is those who want the Native American imagery back. And they said they didn't go far enough. That's it. Look at any poll anywhere. Look at any social media. It's 80 to 90% love for this new uniform. They nailed it. They nailed it with the stripes on the helmet. They nailed it with the gold as the outline rather than white or black outline. And they nailed it with the pants, with the stripes on the pants. I mean, perfect. I see absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful. It's awesome. I love it.
Clean name on the back here for those viewing our audio listeners. You're going to have to go to the site yourself, but there's a picture out there on the Washington site. And I'm just kind of scrolling through here. You see that it's stitching. It's a very old school classic look. They set up the room with the whole, memorabilia and stuff. There's some of the old jerseys that you can see there. So it's got people speculating, is there more coming? They aren't hiding the Redskins logo or name. No. They don't have it on the new one. They don't, it's not there. That was, and I think when you're talking about how they rolled it out, Stoner, I think that's a special thing as well that they did, and a smart thing that they did. When they teased it last week, and they teased it with the helmet, and they showed that the W was going to be there.
Yeah, it was staying put.
It was staying put. This was still going to be the Commanders, but they wanted to do that. Also, by the way, what I loved is the fact that we didn't have to wait 2 years for this uniform change.
Yeah.
Last week, hey, we're going to reveal a new uniform, and then they reveal a new uniform the weekend.
Whoa.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I don't want to go through. We're going to be thinking about a uniform design, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to be dragged through it. I hate talking about this kind of stuff.
I do too. But to be fair, we were rebranding at the time. Like, we were literally becoming a different. So we had to go through that whole BS of designing a uniform. But yeah, Not anymore, because look at how fast this happened. I love it. I agree with Stoner. The colors are great. Ref the District, Stoner probably said this on our Twitter account, and shout out to Hog Farmer's Chris Bryant. He replied to this tweet. I agree with Stoner too, or at least from the pictures. We have to see it up close in person, but the drastic difference in the burgundy colors of our white uniforms this year current and the one that's coming and this one that's being showcased, it's the same. The burgundy is the same color as your polo right now. That's the true burgundy. And then Chris Bryant replied, I think he thinks it's the same kind of burgundy too, but the diamond like design within the numbers kind of messed it up too. And I agree with that. It kind of made it look like it's not even. Yeah, this is the burgundy color we need. This one right here in this uniform is we need.
It's also pointed out that the burgundy looks different depending on the trim, right? So like the black trim, it's going to look a little bit lighter, but the gold trim, it's going to look a little bit darker. But it is the same burgundy. They use the same hex code and everything like that. It's just the way that the current white jersey's designed. It makes it look a little bit reddish. And
there's no
people
gold.
hate that. People hate that, and people want this white jersey to be the new norm. It's not. It is an alternate jersey, and I got more thoughts on this in a little bit because I love this jersey. Don't get me wrong, but I do have my problems with it. However, I do not have a problem with my favorite part of this alternate jersey is this right here. Which is the yellow face mask on the helmet.
Gold.
The gold. Thank you.
Why do people call it yellow? Why did you call it yellow?
I don't know. It's yellow. Yellow is a gold. I work with the Crayola 8 box. Okay. It's gotta be in those. But it is a burgundy and gold. Fair enough. I'll take my hit there. But the gold face mask, love it.
Yeah. And it's perfect. And I believe somebody reached out to Jeremy Reeves and asked him to put the white tape a la Sean Taylor, and he said he's going to do it.
The Podfather.
Podfather Kyle definitely did that. So that's pretty cool. But you're right. The nostalgia of it brings us back to that time when this franchise, this organization was at its peak, was at its best, winning Super Bowls 3 in however many years it was. And it just, that's what we're trying to get back to.
Yeah.
So to have all of this, but still keeping the W, because we're not getting into the politics of it. It's not leaving. And just to go back to that is perfect. Those jerseys were fine. They kind of grew on us, right? The white jersey and the burgundy jersey, which I think is probably most everyone's favorite.
I love
they grew on us, right? They grew on us, even if we may not have liked them at first. But this is a hit for everybody. And if we take the W out of the equation, right, I think it's a hit for 99% of the fans.
It should be a hit anyway. We're Washington Commanders, Washington Redskins, Washington football team. The W represents Washington. Get over it. Okay, people know that we were the Redskins. People know that already. Just because we don't have the logo on there doesn't mean that people are like, oh, get over it. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to like boast and rant, but we're the Washington Commanders. It starts with the letter W. Okay, that's all it is. Just get over it. We're still the Redskins. We're still the Commanders. We're still the football team. I know. I guarantee all three of us in this podcast and our listeners and everybody subscribed have some kind of gear that represent each brand that we've produced as a fan. I bet you we do. You have a Washington football team gear, you have a Redskins gear, and you have Commanders gear. And I bet the same people who have those gears are the same ones who are saying, where's the logo at? Where's the logo at? Wear the shirt with the logo, bro, if you want to wear it so bad. It's W for Washington football team, Commanders, Redskins. Get over yourselves.
I mean, nobody has a problem with like the G for Green Bay. And
exactly.
It is mostly because the change from the old logo to the new logo. People might not like the W. I think it looks crisp. Some people are calling for the spear.
That's cool too.
I honestly, I just can't
It's a
just win
W.
football games. For the love of God, just win.
I know.
I know there is that.
Yeah.
There is that. We've always said it for years when it comes to the name, to the uniform, to the colors and everything. We don't really care as long as they win games.
Mhm.
But if you are going to make a change, right? If you are going to make a change, this was the change to make.
Yes.
This was the change.
This is a good
This,
one.
And
this
it's
was,
only an alternate for now. Now, I think Nathan said he tabled a little bit of that till later. Whether or not they're going to make this the permanent uniform in the future remains to be seen. The rumor is out there that in 2026 it's going to be permanent. We'll see. There's a lot of rules with the NFL and their uniforms, so I don't know how easy it is to just say 2026 it's going to be full time.
Yeah, one of the things some of the people who want the change will hold on to is that technically there's a clause in the how often you can change uniform is if
Right.
there's an ownership change. So I don't know. I haven't dug into the NFL rule book when it comes to uniform changes, but that's something maybe we can look at. To Stoner's point, I had Zach Ertz up there for the longest time because it speaks to what Stoner was talking about, which is this right here. This is a good image of Jeremy Reeves holding the football. When you look at just this part, this is just the top half of the jersey, and you add the pants to it and the socks with the stripes as well. When you see that, no helmet, you know instantly it's which team that person plays for,
Absolutely.
right? So the helmet, I think the only thing, and I love the matte finish still. The W is the only thing. The Commander's logo is the only thing I think people get hung up on. The uniform looks great, and I like it. It's nostalgic for me and for a lot of our fans when it comes to that. But Tony here mentioned this as well. I love the memories with these uniforms, but they're still old-fashioned and outdated to wear permanently. This is an old look. This is not a new look. This is very much a classic throwback. And to me, I'm agreeing with Tony on this one. This is one of the things I'm going to dissent with people. I don't think this should be the full-time white uniform. I want to break this out as an alternate jersey. I don't want this to be the main thing.
So you're okay with the current white jersey?
I don't hate the current white jersey the way other people do. It's
I
not
don't
my
either.
favorite. I prefer the burgundy, and I like the black. Kill me, shoot me now, guys, because I like the black jersey, which is odd because I hate things with camo in it, and the black jersey has camo. I wore camo for 20 years. I don't need to wear camo on Sundays when I'm cheering on my team, but I love that black jersey. Well, not love, I like it.
I like the white jersey. I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about the current standard jersey. I like it. But once you bring this out, I never want to see that white jersey again.
No, dude, bro.
I'm serious. I never want to see it again. Now it looks hideous to me.
Yeah, there's no gold in that uniform.
There's no
gold. There's no gold. There's gold in the black uniform. There's gold in the maroons. And the icy whites, there's no gold.
And maybe you're right, Nathan, and I think technically you are right that the color is burgundy on that white jersey. It's the exact same color as the burgundy that I'm wearing and the burgundy everywhere else. Technically it is. Trev's going, but he's probably going to go get one right now. Go get a jersey. But it doesn't look right when comparing it. So Trev went and got the white jersey.
That's the burgundy. Yeah, that's the burgundy.
That's the same burgundy.
Yeah.
It is the exact same burgundy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
oh gosh, a Wentz jersey, man. What are we doing?
That's the burgundy on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is I was okay with the white until they busted out these alternates.
Oh,
now I never want to see that other hideous
Stoner.
white jersey again.
We stand corrected.
Yeah.
There's gold on the Nike check on the white.
Oh, okay.
I would like to see some more gold. And I would be okay if they got rid of the little diamond pattern that confuses everybody with the burgundy.
Yeah, get rid of that.
I'm okay with the retool, but to me, keep keep moving forward
To
with your
keep it
jersey
special.
line.
Is that why you want to do it? To just kind of keep
Partly,
it as
but
a
it's
really
also
special thing?
it's just like, to me, there's a balance, because people think that some of the new jersey designs are too forward thinking in like arena football
I was
style.
literally about to say
That's the biggest knock for them. Is like, oh, it looks like an arena football league. When you're designing something new fashion, and the W goes with this. So maybe some people just don't like the W because it's more of a modern design and not an old school logo style. But the thing is design trends change over time, and you don't put big block stripes on a uniform now. Okay. You just don't do that. Look at that. I like the stripes in this alternate uniform. Keep it an alternate uniform. And I like the stripe on the helmet. But you're telling me that I don't know, I'm in the minority here because people are about to yell at me for this too. But if you're trying to tell me that the stripes on that helmet look better than the clean matte look, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I do not.
It does. That's what Washington's known for, is the stripes on the helmet.
There's other teams that have stripes on helmets. It's just an old-fashioned look. It's just
we're known for that. We we love the stripe on the helmet. It sets off the helmet.
It's not something that I, like you said, once the season comes along, I don't care about all of this stuff, right? I don't care about these uniforms and all that, but it's the off season and it's something we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be mad now during the season when they bust out the regular.
I know, right? It's going to be like, ew, gross.
I would love to see that jersey list. I wish the burgundy.
Okay.
I wish the burgundy was the main jersey.
I see what you're saying.
I wish it were I wish it were a situation where you can wear the burgundy almost all the time, and then the whites is like your second jersey.
I got you.
I wish that.
The 3 games we're wearing these, are we home or away?
That's actually a good question.
I do have the list here. Hold on, let me go back to it here.
Because that might either piggyback the rumor or disintegrate the rumor that it's going to be permanent for 2026. I love it.
I do too.
I love it. I mean, why do we want to be a follower and follow the trends in the league? Why can't we just be our own organization? I mean, we were never a flashy uniform type team anyway. We're we represent DC, capital, clean, cut, simple, plain uniforms. Why are we want to get into futuristic? Like, if you ask, like, the Lions with the black jerseys and the blue and black, that's too crazy for me.
Yeah,
like,
stop it already.
Yeah,
right?
Stop that. But but you got
it is home against the Seahawks in week 9. Week 13 against the Broncos is a home game, and week 17 against the Cowboys is a home game. These are all home games that you.
This is gonna be our home jersey for next year, and they're gonna keep this burgundy, because let's be honest, yeah, it's the same burgundy as the white, but look what we had to do to decipher that. A daggone experiment visual. So they keep this for burgundy, make the new whites the whites for home, and keep the black as an alternate. That's all you got to do. Would you be cool with that, Nathan? Because you love the burgundies. Would you be cool with that, Nathan?
As long as I don't really care all about these jerseys. I do not own a current white jersey, and that is for a reason. I own a current burgundy and I own a current black, but I don't own a current white. Okay.
So get this one.
I will try. It's on my Christmas list. Okay. It is on my Christmas list. Now, who are you guys getting?
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Go ahead and tell us, because there's one thing I have after this in a dissenting way, but let's
real quick.
You can't pick Jaden Daniels.
No, we already have those jerseys, guys.
Yeah.
Real quick, hold on. Nathan, what does dissenting mean? Because you said it pre-show and you laughed at me. You said it 20 minutes ago. You just say it again. What is it?
Everybody is for this, and I'm saying that I have something to say against it. That's dissenting.
Okay.
I'm of the opposite opinion, opposite of the popular opinion, no less.
Give me Trey Amos. 23.
Oh, you would take Trey Amos?
Yeah, I'll give me Trey Amos. I'm pretty excited.
I know who. I think I know who. Can I write it down, Stoner?
Who I would do?
Who I think you're going to get.
I have to think about it here for a second, though. I got to kind of go this way, and then I got to go there.
I mean, there's a bunch I could get.
I think I know exactly who you're going to get.
Definitely not getting that doofus's number.
All right. All right. I got it written down. Down. You go ahead and tell me who you're going to get. And then I'll show you.
Oz the Mentalist right here.
Yeah, let's see. Grimjaw going with Amos. 23 is going to be pretty sharp.
Yeah,
and that's actually my number.
Yeah, but I don't think that's who he's going to get.
No, he's going to get. Go ahead,
Stoner?
Nathan.
Yes. Well, I want to say something just for for this game or whatever. But I think it's probably Trey Amos. But just for the sake of this game, since we're doing it, Allegretti.
Hey.
Okay, no.
You know that
I'm not doing Allegretti. I mean, I like that dude. I love that dude.
Someone that's not as popular.
But I can't put all my stock in that dude. I can't put all my stock in McGee, although I really love McGee. I can't put all my stock in.
Yeah, because look what happened.
Put all my stock in. Yeah, exactly. He's
gone. He gone.
Because I don't know that he's going to be, the guy. But I mean, I think those last two nailed it. I'm a Sanderstill guy.
Really?
I love him.
There's been one guy you've been talking about getting his jersey for the longest time, and I
the guys, that was it. Yeah, and that was my other one. That was too obvious for me, though.
I don't like the number
you've been holding off on getting a jersey for so long. I just figured it was going to be Frankie Luvu, the guy who you really love and have been talking about getting his jersey. When he ends up with double-digit sacks this year, then you're going to get his jersey.
Well, I like the number 4 personally.
Yeah, and that's not a great number. You're right on that. But
Taylor Heineke, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Brett Favre,
Favre. We did actually get jerseys last year. I actually got 94. No, wait, did I get? Yeah, I got 94.
You got Payne?
And Mrs. Stone got 19.
Kadarius Toney? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know who's 19. Is there anybody who's 19? So we got them custom made. So hers says together
1994. You're
and mine says
custom made. I was like, I put the two together literally on that one.
So actually, I got a Daron Payne jersey.
I'll probably get a Mikey.
Mike. I'm just because the number helps too.
Yeah, unless the Senator has like an amazing start to the season. I love me some tight ends, but Mikey, Johnny Newton, I talk a lot about and expecting big things, but I don't.
He's about to be traded for trade.
I don't. Until he actually shows it, I just have hopes and dreams with that one. Mikey's shown he can play. He has one of my favorite pictures. I actually might try to see if I can get that printed and put on the wall. His play against Tennessee where he is outstretched, knocking away the football is probably my favorite non-Jaden Daniels image of last season. Just a fantastic football shot. And if I could get that one, but in a Mikey jersey, +0 looks good on the jersey.
Yeah. And one of my favorites actually is one of my favorite photos that I really like as well. It's Sanderstill. The problem is the other guy in the photo is Forbes. Remember before one of those games?
Oh, yeah.
The warm-ups when they jumped up in the air and did like the...
That's a good one.
It's a great photo, but I can't have Forbes in there.
We mentioned we mentioned a lot of people already, and a lot of people now mentioning Scary Terry.
Nope,
can't go wrong with 17. I'm here with Jared. I actually have 4 McLaurin jerseys, so I think I'd run the gambit of Redskins Terry McLaurin, a football team Terry McLaurin, and the Commanders Terry McLaurin, and I have 2 football team ones, and then I have this one that's signed behind me. So I don't think I can go with another McLaurin jersey as much as I want.
Well, especially
yeah.
since he's going to be on, the Patriots or
Yeah,
whatever.
I was gonna say, you might as well
I'm getting
get
it.
this
Maybe
jersey
doing a
now.
custom Tressway. I do need a new Tressway jersey. Maybe this will be my Tressway jersey. Is in this one, but that one.
Nah, you better go ahead and get your McLaurin jerseys now because it's the last time you'll see him in a Washington uniform.
Well, speaking of that, there's a lot of talk about that in the comments.
Number two.
Big E here. I'm a little disappointed Terry was not in any of this. Like, come on. JG, one big problem. Where was Terry? This was during one of Terry's holdouts that they did the photos. So that's why he wasn't a part of this. Like this, it was just happened to be they did this during the last mini camp where he was holding out. So Terry wasn't there.
All right.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Go ahead, Trev. It's a thing.
I got another hot take that fans probably won't like, but it is what it is. Love the guy. Good character guy. I don't have any problems with him. But Popfather reached out to this guy and asked about the tape on the face mask, which is a great idea. But then when I looked at another, I think Twitter that showed the faces of the recent safeties that wore them, they were all starting safeties. I understand Jeremy Reeves is like a top-notch guy, and he's been through all the trials and tribulations. And with this team, cut, sign. New staff comes in, sign. New staff comes in, whole ownership, sign. That's cool. Pro Bowl special teamers, but
all pro.
But Ryan Clark, yeah, he was maybe washed up after Pittsburgh, but he started safety for us. DJ Swearinger started safety for us. The originator, Sean Taylor, started safety for us. I mean, if you want to do it just to honor Sean Taylor, that's cool. But in my opinion, you got to be a starting safety to do that. And this is not Jeremy Reeves.
I think that it's more of a
Sean Taylor.
Revo is a beloved player, and Sean Taylor is a beloved player. I don't think anybody's asking him to do it because they think that he, plays anywhere near the level.
I'm not saying you did.
Safety or something like that. So
right.
You have a point. You have a point there, but he's a beloved player.
Yeah, but you're going to see it. You're going to see it on. We don't punt much, so where are you going to see it on the field when he's on the sideline cheering his teammates on?
And let's be honest.
Yeah.
They asked him because he's the most likely of all of the safeties who are actually going to respond on social media because he's active on Twitter with fans.
True.
He's responded to a lot of different fans.
If you do it to guy, like I said,
if you do it to Quan Martin, he's not going to respond. So you're gonna send that request to the guy who is possibly going to respond, and he did.
And he's also one of the few that's actually in the images, which, as Jay points out, if you noticed, it was the playoff captains except Luvu instead of Terry.
Yeah, I think
because he ain't there.
I think it's something because you can. I mean, that's the only day in the history of the world that they can take those photos. Like they had a day set aside, right? But Terry's not there, right? You can't do it the next week when there's no camp or whatever. There's no.
You have to do it while the players are in the building.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but he can't be in the building next week or last week or whatever.
To do a photo shoot real quick.
To do a photo shoot. He can't be in the building.
Why would he be? Why would he come do that? You're not going to pay me and do what I want. Why am I going to come do what y'all want?
But he's getting paid. He's under contract. He's not a free agent.
But what he wants, they're not honoring right now. And what they want is for him to be there. So I'm not showing up.
Okay. Well, that's a problem. It's not a. Wait. Let me rephrase that. It's not a problem.
Issue.
It's an issue. Right? Remember how we always say before when we were talking about certain things, it's not a big deal, but it's a deal.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is not a big deal, but it's a deal that your former face of the franchise, who's going into your Ring of Honor, regardless of what happens from here on out.
Yes.
He's not the guy who's modeling your uniform. He modeled the previous uniforms, did he not?
He did.
When they rebranded to WFT. He was there for that. Because he's the face.
He ain't going to be here.
But it's not a big deal. But it's still a deal, a little bit of a deal. I don't think it. What I mean by that is I don't think it says anything that there was any sort of intent to keep him out, or I don't think it was Terry's way of saying, I'm not going there and I'm going to miss this, right? I don't think he was trying to send a message. I don't think the team was trying to send a message. I think you're right, Nathan. I think it was, here's the day we're doing it. Terry is holding out, so he's not going to be in the building to do it. So Terry's not there.
I understand y'all. Terry's a good guy and everything, but there is a possibility Terry could be a human being and be like, I'm not coming to the picture day because y'all haven't honored or got anywhere closer with my contract. I mean, it's possible. Yeah, he's a stand-up guy, and we love him to death as a team leader, but at the end of the day, he's a human being. He's got to take care of his family. So why would you show up for some funky picture day when you are just brushing my contract situation off, and all you said since March was we want to make you long-term? We don't know if he didn't say that just because of what he's given us, his public image. We don't know if he's like that. I bet you he's like that because we've seen how mad he gets on the field when something doesn't go his way.
I don't think so.
Oh, guys, do you know whose jersey number you said you wouldn't get? Or you guys hadn't named yet?
I said Mikey, and he said
Yes, no, I said Mikey as well.
There's another one you guys forgot that we probably could get or should get.
I said Tressway as another option, but who are you saying?
TJ Watt.
I
mean, his brother said it should be permanent. And if remember back in the day in Twitter, it was called subtweeting, where you didn't want to at the person you were talking about.
Yeah,
sure.
That was a subtweet, as in like, yo, get on that podium.
I tell you what, Trev, I will find a way. If I don't know, I think our ref the district coffers are pretty low right now. But if TJ Watt signs with the Commanders, we will all have TJ Watt jerseys.
100%.
Okay, we will.
You'll become my favorite player.
What's his number right now?
99. I don't know.
90.
It's in the 90s. A couple different things here that I've starred. There was some Tressway talk there. Uptown Dre is Tressway, a legend here. He is 100% in the Ring of Honor.
Yep.
He's not a Hall of Fame player, but he's 100% in the Ring of Honor. We were talking about the games that they're going to wear the white jerseys. One of them is Christmas Day against the Cowboys. At home, Christmas will be in the white jersey. They'll probably be selling them at the stadium. So if you want to swing by the stadium and buy yourself a Christmas present as Washington trumps Dallas, then that's the day to do it. A real deal with that question there. And then on the Terry McLaurin thing, one Grimjaw giving you guys grief for even dare talking about Terry.
He's not getting traded. We're just playing.
No, he's not signing long term though. But go ahead.
Trev is on something. Okay,
they're going to franchise tag him.
This rectangle right here knows Terry McLaurin will be playing this season and next with the Washington Commanders. P&W Trout to the picture thing. There was the joke Locked on Law. Picture day is picture day. P&W Trout Slayer mentioning school picture day also has a makeup day. I know I put 3 kids through school and I have 2 more to go. That's a lot of kids. P&W. Congrats to you there. But to P&W's point on this one, I fully expect a part of the Terry McLaurin has re-signed or extended with the Washington Commanders will be him getting in the uniform. I will put $1 on it. $1 on it. Part of it, you're going to see this. You're going to see the standard him in front of the TV and the banners and stuff like that. And then shortly after that, you're going to see Terry McLaurin in the new uniform or in the new alt uniform. You're going to see it. And as other people have pointed out as well, we've seen Terry McLaurin in a Washington Redskins jersey before.
That's true.
He did already play with the stripes and everything like that. So this isn't anything new for him in that regard.
TJ Watt's number 90, by the way.
90.
Yeah, that'd be that'd be nice.
90 would be a pretty sweet number.
Is anybody 90 right now?
Doesn't matter if TJ Watt comes over, he's coming over with enough money to wear 90. I'll tell you
your
that.
jersey and your spot.
And also, Trev, you can't. It's too late to franchise a guy for this year.
Is it?
Yeah. You had to do that way back in.
You have to do.
Way back
you have
in
to call
March
that out a little bit.
Oh, either way, he ain't signing long term.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to point out with this alternate jersey
All right.
is
This is another descending opinion.
This It's not maybe there, but it is to point out where I think this is going. Where I think that not just the Commanders, but where the NFL is going to start going. And this is something that a trend that is across all other sports as well, and especially European sports, which is something the Washington Commanders have been looking at for a long time, is trying to garner some of that like European-ness to their situation. Of course, you do have Harris, who has ownership of a team over in Europe as well, but it's the kits is what they're called in the soccer world. But it's also, you see it in baseball and you see it in basketball, the city jerseys that they have in NBA. This is probably the start. These alternate jerseys might be a 1-year thing. Okay. Maybe not this particular set. This one might ink its way into being a full-time white jersey for Washington. But this is what I'm not going to really care for going forward, is that trend. I'm not a huge fan of it. I just like the jerseys for the I'm not a big buy a jersey guy, anything, but I do like certain looks. And what I can see is, because this is your 4th alternate jersey, is the NFL making your alternate jerseys where you can have one for like 1 year. And then you can move. That's your 4th alternate. Like, so it's just like, hey, this year this is our new throwback, or this is our thing. It's a moneymaker for these guys, is what it is, because people are going to want their Jaden Daniels throwback jersey. They're going to want their Jaden Daniels cherry blossom.
Oh God, Nathan, get out of my head tonight, bro.
The cherry blossom, the Nats cherry blossom jersey is
awesome.
One of all times.
Yeah,
all time.
So make one for that.
But also, you only have 17 NFL games during the regular season, not like in baseball.
82 and 162 and
yeah. So you would muddy the waters, I think, too much if you got into even more. I don't like all the alternate jerseys. I think you should have a home and an away, and maybe have one.
Oh, come on,
per year, just
it's
because
2025, y'all.
I know, but you want to be able to relate to the team by uniform and all that, and so you want to kind of keep it pretty simple.
You can. That's why they have statement edition jerseys and the city editions. They wear them every now and then. Like
I know, but you have a lot of games where you're not wearing them.
True.
When you do your City Connect or whatever, that might be 4 times a season or whatever, and your other 78 games, you're wearing your regular jerseys.
How about this? How about for your division in NFL, you have a different set of uniforms, and then outside your division, you have another kit. Like you have a division kit and an outside division kit.
How long ago was Color Rush? I mean, they used to.
I missed Color Rush.
Color Rush. That was a good one.
I missed those
for a little while. Did we have a Color Rush? Ours was all burgundy.
I think that was the yellow, wasn't it? Wasn't it like a gold?
There you go.
Was it?
But it was.
They had an all gold.
Because I remember Trent Williams was in the.
Let me Google it.
I feel like it was.
I don't think that would have been back in the Redskins day. But while we're talking about this, it was an all gold. Trent Williams was in the.
I forgot about that.
All gold. Yeah. So I just see this happening. I think this is where we're going to go. Is we're going to start seeing a 4th alternate. Maybe the black gets traded out. I don't know what they're going to do. I just have a hard time seeing this particular white jersey. This is either going to become the main jersey, or it's going to get phased out as another alternate comes in, and that becomes the popular one. Maybe it is going to be that deep burgundy with the gold, like the actual gold, not the gold that's here, but like the you like that game.
Oh yeah, like the stale burnt gold kind of.
Yes, that one, right? That's probably going to be an alternate here in a year or two that they're going to wear for 3 games. Okay, that's how the NFL is moving to it, right? They tried it with the Color Rush. Now they're going to be using it as these alternates, the throwbacks and everything. Maybe eventually, Nathan, here they get a feather, because Nathan's saying it needs a feather.
Put the feather in the W. Now that would be chef's kiss.
Anniversary.
Right there on the
And that would also never happen.
Why? They have shirts like that already.
Well, yes. But not are they NFL
I guess
logoed or NFL
you can buy them
approved? I'm not saying that whether you can buy them or not.
I
don't think you can buy them in a team store.
I don't think
check it out.
Yeah,
I
don't think so.
You check that one
and,
out. Yeah, this is Grimjaw pointing out the 70th anniversary jersey is the one that we were thinking about. So, and Doug, actually, we saw it. It was in fact an all gold.
I was just looking. It never happened though.
Oh, it never happened.
This was all mock-ups of what
Bruce Allen rejected it, as Tony says here.
Yeah, so. I don't remember all of that, but it never actually took place. This was all just people, doing their own designs like they do now. Yeah, you can buy stuff, but they never actually did it. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, won't be ditched. CBS Sports here from 2017 won't be punished for ditching their gold color rush uniforms. They opted for the all burgundy look over the designated all gold color rush uniform.
Yeah.
So those mock-ups were what they were supposed to wear.
Yeah.
And the team said, no, we're going to go with the all burgundy, which I think is fair because the all gold looks ugly. Just FYI.
Did we?
Trev, what'd you find? Did you find one?
No, I'm on page 4 already, and I'm not seeing.
Yeah, like I said, I think those are an alternate one. This look, I think it looks great, guys, because it's the old look. It's a fantastic throwback. I'm looking forward to buying the jersey. We'll see more of these during the season. Like I said, we're gonna get 3 chances to look at this live as it goes on. And that's because we're all tuned to the TV when it comes to the NFL, but maybe not so much when it comes to our other DC sports teams. That's what we're going to be talking about right here on Ref the District. Stick with us. Maybe the video is not going to play. So
it was playing.
It was.
Yeah. For all your Commanders news and notes, it's the TNN.
Gotta love live television, guys, where that no news and notes. But here is Trev with some of the conversation. NFL's King is the conversation that we're going to have right now, as StreamYard has its issues. Love it when that happens. Why is it that the Washington Commanders, after 30 years, even at their lowest, held the title here in DC? You have championships in hockey, or championship in hockey. You have a championship in baseball. You have a championship in the WNBA. You have a championship in soccer. And yet somehow a team that had not just a sub 500 record, but like a 400 and possibly worse record over the 20 some odd years that the previous guy had it. And that team is still number 1. Why is that?
Just by what you said, you didn't put the letter S after the word championship for any of those teams. Number 1. Number 2, the teams that you talked about do not have a history dating far as back as the Washington Redskins Commanders football team does. And number 3, we're winning now. I mean, I know it was
what about for the last
few years?
15, 20 years?
Because I think we're one of the fan bases. I'm sure they're everywhere, but since we focus on it, we never give up. The difference between us and Dallas, I'm going to say that because Dallas is the Mavericks team, and we're Commanders. We're like one of the oldest rivals.
Don't you dare use that term.
Every year, they could win 2 games. Next year, we're on the Super Bowl. They could go to the playoffs. Next year, we're on the Super Bowl. They're unrealistic down there because they were used to winning like we were in the 90s, though we were early, but they were used to winning. And they've kept that, it doesn't matter how good or bad we are, we're always going to be in the Super Bowl. This fan base knows we suck, but we keep it real. We don't jump ship. We don't predict the next season. All we ask for is maybe we'll win more than 4 games, or maybe we'll sign a big name, or maybe that guy previously will get out of office. Like, we have so much more realistic expectations and more realistic fan base. I think that's why we stay on top. It's because we never loyalty is number one for DC sports fans. They've been through it all. Now some have wavered off, but you still got some who were deciding to this day whether to be a fan or not because of a logo. Like, if that's how much homage and history it is to this team because of all that back in 1932 when it started. That's my opinion. We're the most storied franchise in Washington, D.C. We have more championships than half the teams that are there combined. Yeah, we won them a long time ago, but we won more than one. So, sorry, Gus Bus.
Gus Bus said, whatever, Trev. This fan base lost about 30% of itself.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I feel like a lot of people haven't.
I think those are all fair. Fair ways to look at it. I think that something has to do with when they were at their peak in the 80s and early 90s. Then they were winning 3 in 10 years or whatever it was, and you were in championship games a lot, and that's how they built the fan base. None of the other teams have had sustained winning, right? This team has been here longer than the other teams as well. So they've been around this city longer. And when you have the Nats, the Nats have been here since 2006 or whatever.
Yeah.
Been here like 20 years, 2004, whatever it is. And the Capitals have only been here since the 70s, early 70s, I believe. They just celebrated their 50th year. So since 1975. And the Wizards had a couple of years where they were pretty good, where they went to back-to-back finals and won one. And that's it in their history.
And that's when there were the Bullets.
Yeah. So they had this opportunity, these other sports teams, they had their opportunity to really capitalize on the down of the Redskins and the entire franchise, but they couldn't sustain it. And to say this is a basketball town, I know that's a popular narrative out there. It's not. Mike is nailing it. This is not a basketball town. Not for the Commanders. You could say it's a good basketball town when the team is good. But this is a football town. It's always a football team. They always say the second most important person in this city after the president is the backup quarterback for whoever is on the Redskins. And it'll always be that way.
Yeah.
And I think what also helps, somebody also said that this is the sport, the NFL is king. That helps because everybody loves the NFL. But something we talked about earlier, the specialness of NFL game day once a week.
Right.
And for back then, it was 14 times a year. Then it was 16. Now 17 times a year. Once a week for 17 times. That's all you get.
Mm-hmm.
And so you build to that Sunday game. And then, you party around that one game.
Yeah.
Then the Washington baseball team around here, the Nats and the Senators before that, they play 160 some odd games. You don't care about game number.
You don't care till October.
You don't care till October. And even the Wizards and the Caps, you play so many games that you get that malaise of a season.
Sure.
Every single game for the Washington Commanders matters.
And to piggyback off of that,
that's why there always will be king.
It's not a basketball town because I'm not from DC, so I guess it's harder for me to say why they stay on top. But I can say this: I've been to DC a few times, and I've seen people wear Wizards stuff, and the conversation ends up talking about the Redskins.
Right.
And they're decked out in Wizards gear. And it's what's the Redskins going to do next year or this year? It's like, I'm in Wizards.
I think the argument for the basketball town is there used to be a lot of quality players that would come from this area.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Right. And Georgetown used to be like a
Oh,
powerhouse
yeah.
in the
Sure.
basketball world because it was never really the Wizards. The Wizards have not been good. Have
Right.
not had a 50-win season in how long?
John Wall.
No.
1978.
Yeah.
That's the
Forever.
last time they won 50
Yeah.
games.
They didn't win
Yeah.
50 games with John Wall?
No.
They won 49 and they had a chance to win 50, but Scotty Brooks benched all the starters because they were getting ready for the playoffs and they tanked the last game.
Yeah, and then they got
So they won
bounced in the
49.
playoffs. Yeah, they
Oh,
haven't
my
had
God.
50 wins in forever. So when people talk about it being a basketball town, they talk about it because of the roots, right? The pickup games in
Kevin Durant.
Georgetown and Maryland, the Terps just up the road, right? That's the basketball
Mhm.
history.
Absolutely.
College.
But not the NBA, not since the Bullets. And that they haven't been the Bullets since the 90s. And when they thought Harry Potter was big and they ended up calling the team the Wizards.
Mhm.
I mean, it's no different than the Toronto Raptors are there because of Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
And so
Crazy.
it is the basketball thing. I understand where people are coming from that, but DC is a football town.
Yeah.
The biggest team is the football team. It's not when you're looking, it's not Georgetown. It's not the Wizards. It's not the Nationals, who I agree with. I think it was Gus who had said that the Nationals had a nice young fan base and people were starting to flock to them because they were the likable team. And they win in 2019 and we loved our Nats. And then COVID happened and you couldn't celebrate. And then the team started losing some of the key pieces. But the Nationals have been so bad since that championship game that they just fired the manager and the GM. They got a lot of young, good talent over there in the Nationals. I love it. I wish they could find a pitcher. They needed a couple more pitchers, but they have great young talent out there, likable talent. Wood is going to be traded someday for a whole bunch of prospects because he is so good.
Juan Soto all over again, huh?
Juan Soto all over again. 100%. Until the owners change.
I was going to say.
Until the owners change. The learners, if they can sell the team, then maybe we will start to see some changes over there in the Nats. But they're sabotaging themselves. Davey had to go. Davey Martinez had to go. I appreciate everything he did in 2019. I think he was a better manager. I thought he was a way better manager right up until the end when he's like, it's never the coach's fault. It's like, ooh, that is not what I want my coaches to say. That is not what my coaches.
Well, having Juan Soto and Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg at his peak and Trey Turner and all those guys is a lot easier to manage than when you've got Nathaniel Lowe and Jacob Young and a whole bunch of other guys you never heard of.
Sure.
It's a lot easier to do that. But I just think that Lockdown is pointing out a lot of what's going on with the fan base. We've lost a lot of fan base, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
They've turned away for a lot of different reasons. Biggest one being the losing, but the owner, the name change, going to be Baltimore fans or whatever. I've known people who've switched to Pittsburgh. I know a guy who switched to Tennessee. We know a guy who changed to the Raiders, right? All of this, that's understandable, right? You're definitely lost a ton of the fan base.
And told us to F off too.
But it's still a fan base that's much bigger, more rabid, more invested than any of those other franchises. And
it's no disrespect to them. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it just is. And the NFL, it'll be that way in most cities unless you have a certain team that has consistently won, year after year after year after year after year.
I don't know. I think there are certain teams like certain cities like LA.
Okay, I'm done. Nathan.
Just right there. Trev, you got to do the thing. I'm with you, Trev.
Every point I've been wanting to make, Nathan has said it. It's like he's right here watching me think and be like, okay, and then he says it. It's crazy.
LA is a basketball town. They've tried over and over again to make that a football town, and it's just not. It's not a football town. The people don't care about that as much as they care about the Lakers, and the Clippers, right? But the Chargers and the Rams, they're so secondary to those teams. So there are towns that are, and there's college areas that would be 100%. Like, you're telling me Carolina as a football? No, man.
Oh, we about to be, but
yeah, Carolina is all about the school basketball.
Sure.
Like, it's just where those fan bases lie. But here in the DMV, it's football. I mean, when you're talking to me about basketball, this is another, the Wizards, we've talked about how bad they are, but they've got a young core now that they're trying to build around. And one of their big fans, Stoner, you don't even believe in them.
Well, there's nothing to believe in at this point. They've got a bunch of guys who are going to battle to be the third option on the team, and they don't have the first or second option. So they're gonna win 20 games again this year. I don't believe in this rebuild.
They got CJ McCollum.
They won't, probably in game one. He'll be gone.
No, he's staying.
They're not gonna have a starting lineup of CJ McCollum, Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton, and 2 other veterans.
No, it's going to be.
They're not going to do that. The young guys are going to play. CJ McCollum's going to play 40 games at most.
It's going to be CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Alex Sarr, Kublier, and I don't know who your 5th is, because they're going to let Corey Kispert go. He gone. Sorry, he going to be gone.
Yeah.
And then McCollum
you got Bub. Be gone by the end of the year by the trade.
Well, then you got Bub coming in for him. Bub Carrington can come in. You got Bub, bro.
He's not a Bub's truther.
Just give it a chance, dude. Give these young dudes a chance. Look how young Oklahoma City is. Literally, no one thought outside of Nathan and the Thunder that they were really going to do anything, making all those moves and bringing all those no-name young guys in, and then bringing over a veteran at the time at SGA who was just now in his prime. Like, so give it a chance, bro. Look what they just did.
You bring in an SGA, and you'll have my attention.
Well, okay.
But right now they have a bunch of Lou Dorts and Kayvon Wallace.
Does Lou Dort have a ring? Wallace. Do they have rings?
Yeah, because they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Not because of Lou Dort. Those guys,
Lou Dort has defense, guys. Bro. He's one of the top defenders in the league.
You need those guys.
I just love it when they talk Thunder for me. It's great.
You need those guys to win. Trev, well, you need those guys to win.
Alex Sarr just got done tying his shoes. He only played 1 year.
You think Alex Sarr is going to be the next superstar in this league?
He has a possibility to do that. It's been 1 year.
Draft Paolo Banchero, and then you've got my attention. Don't draft.
No one knew Paolo Banchero was going to be like that from Duke. Come on.
Yeah, they did.
No,
he was
that in high school.
Pick.
He was good, the number one high school recruit. He was the number one college player, and he went number one overall.
Kyle Filipowski was one of those too, and he's fighting for a spot at Summer League. Duke is still up and down. And Cooper Flagg's just another, what's his name? The guy Keith Van Horn. That's all he is.
Why do you gotta compare him to another white guy? Why can't Cooper Flagg be like another LaMarcus Aldridge?
Because LaMarcus Aldridge.
Did you just say Chet Holmgren when he just accused you of comparing a white guy to a white guy?
Chet's black. Chet's black. His name's
he
not.
Might think he is.
No, but Nathan, I mean, Stoner, give it a chance. Come on, man. I understand. You're a Wizards fan more than me. I understand where your pain's coming from, but this is literally a little bit better than last year. Roster-wise.
2 or 3 games better. What is that? They won 18 games last year, Trev. They won 18 games. You know how terrible that is?
And then still didn't get the number. They got the 6th pick.
They got the 6th pick.
Yeah, Locked On Law saying if the NBA stops fixing the draft, the Wizards will get the number. Yes, by the way, chime in. Chet has the barbecue invite.
GS got $250 million today, by the way.
Yeah, he did. He signed.
Good Lord.
The NBA money is different. It's very different. I think Wizards fans should be excited. I do think they're a little bit of ways. I agree with Gus saying that they're not near Oklahoma City right now. And I agree with Stoner. They've got to find their SGA. They've got to find the superstar And these young guys have to elevate. Stoner doesn't believe that player's on the roster right now, but you got to remember Presti protege is and Watkins is leading the way for the Wizards. So
be patient.
He's going to wheel and deal, and you'll figure something out. But it's going to be, it might be a little bit.
It's okay. So
Look. I'm a guy who believes that you build just like with the Commanders. I like bringing in Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu and Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler and Tyler Biat. I like bringing in proven guys rather than drafting a guy and hoping that they develop into something. I've always been that way. And I believe it's the same way in the NBA. As I've done the research on the NBA, this year and last year, Boston won last year, right?
Yeah.
This year and last year. It's 2 years in a row now, so maybe I have to change my narrative. But before that, the NBA went 17 years where only one team won with a top 5 draft pick of their own top 5 draft pick. Right? And that was Kyrie Irving in Cleveland. Right? All these other teams that won brought in guys
right
after they developed, and they said, okay, Kawhi Leonard's a superstar. Let's bring him to Toronto and let's win a championship. Right? Aaron Gordon, who was a top 5 pick for, maybe it was Orlando. I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was Orlando.
Let's bring him into Denver and pair him with a second-round draft pick in Jokic and a number 11 pick in Jamal Murray, and let's win a championship, because you don't have to have these young guys to win.
So you're proving my point. They did that. They might not be the veterans you like, but they did that. That's the first step by bringing in Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum with these young guys. If you want a superstar to come there, you got to win games. And these veterans are going to help these young guys develop and win games, so then they can ride off to the sunset, and then you get somebody with a big name to come play with these younger guys. But you got to start somewhere.
We'll see.
You got to start somewhere.
I was always okay with bringing in Porzingis, bringing in Westbrook.
You were a big KD guy.
Yeah, I mean, just bring in established veterans.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you can look back and say it didn't work, but I'd rather do that than, we talked about it many times, Nathan, you and I, even off air, we've talked about, you want to draft a guy, let's say Trey Johnson, right? And you want to build him up into being, a 3-time All-Star, a guy who scores 30 points a game, right? And is your number one go-to option and is an all-NBA third teamer. That's what you hope Trey Johnson builds up to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you already had that with Bradley Beal. I'm not advocating for Bradley Beal. I'm just saying that sort of mentality. Why are you trying to develop something into what you already have? You already have that, so try to win with that. It didn't work.
You do need to find that guy. You need, like Gus brings up, the Commanders are nothing without Jaden Daniels. Wizards front office needs to get lucky and find the NBA version of Jaden Daniels. Yeah. And there's some of that, and there's SGA was with the Clippers and he was just an okay young point guard, and he turns into being an MVP, right, for the league. Well, we'll see how he goes. Well, I mean, in the NBA, sure. He's already got one MVP and a championship. Yeah, he's probably a Hall of Famer. You're right. The way the NBA goes in there. The development part, though, I understand that there's a lot of hopes and prayers, but it's also good for a team to cut their losses with a guy like Bradley Beal, or as Oklahoma City did with Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they got SGA. Is they trade away a guy who is a quality player, but not going to bring you a championship, to try to find the guy who will do that.
Right. But Nathan, you said they traded him, right? They traded Paul George, but they got SGA. When Washington traded Beal, they didn't get their SGA.
Yeah. I know.
Again, you guys lost out on that. The Wizards lost out on that part. They're not the only team that's struggling, though. The Washington Commanders are on the rise. They did find their Jaden Daniels. They were they were still one of the top, like they were the top team, right? Ovi, whole career here with the Caps, just got to be the greatest goal scorer in NHL history. What's preventing the Caps from being able to overtake? They never won. They only, I guess, Trev, you mentioned this earlier. They only won the one championship.
Yeah.
Stoner, why can't they? Why is this not a hockey town?
Well, I mean, you can kind of say it's more of a hockey town than it is a basketball town or a baseball town. I mean, they went like 15 years of selling out every single game up until last year. Maybe it was the year before. They had that consecutive streak going on. But hockey is just a niche sport. It's just not something that's ever going to completely take over a town in a town that has 4 major sports.
Has competitive sports, yeah.
When you're in Toronto, hockey is king in Toronto because you have that and you have basketball, and that's it. You don't have NFL and you don't have
Blue Jays, but
actually you do have the Blue Jays, right? But like in Canada, it's a little bit different, right? But there's certain hockey is never going to be number one in any town. Just look at their TV contracts. When your highest paid player in the sport makes $10 million a year, or maybe it's $11 million a year, whereas in football, Patrick Mahomes is making $50 million a year and $60 million a year. That's because TV is king. TV is where everybody goes, and it's a niche sport. It just never will.
And the NFL, by the way, is uniquely positioned when it comes to TV. And they've worked. That's actually how one of the ways that they were to go from where they were. Baseball used to be America's pastime, right? And that used to be the big sport for the TV deals and everything like that. That's the reason why they've got these stupid money in baseball as well. But when TV started coming around, football started to gain traction because you have these like built-in commercial times where people can go grab a beer, people can go get something to eat, and you have ad space for revenue and now money. And so more and more eyes are getting on there, and then more and more money is being put into it for the ad revenue, and just kind of snowballed into what we have now. It's honestly one of the reasons why college football has grown from what was just an amateur these were student athletes is what they were supposed to be. And then somewhere in the 80s, things twisted. And now essentially college sports is your
JV NFL.
Minor league is the word. But yeah,
league.
it's your minor league. And there's just so much more money into it in that way. In a way that you're never going to get the support for the Mystics, right? WNBA, the Mystics have a nice core fan base. But until Caitlin Clark comes to DC, you're not selling out the way that Caitlin Clark can sell out, or that basketball, the bigger sports can sell out. And as much as I love soccer, DC United, even though they were a powerhouse like decade ago, and some change, it's never like they even got the likes of Rooney to come here, a big name in the football world and the European football. Scooby, you'll be happy for me to throw out that way instead of saying soccer again. But it just didn't matter. It didn't matter because DC United is always going to be 4th or 5th at best. So Mike H here with Super Chat. We appreciate you. Mike here with $10 saying, will the NFL expand to Europe, Mexico, and South America? When and how does that work for teams in long travels in strategy?
That's way too complicated. Probably it's probably going to be some complications that expand to Europe. I don't know how many games you would like. That'd be crazy. Like, are you trying to get NFL teams to form in Europe and be a part of NFL, or like you just saying have more games in NFL in Europe and Mexico and South America? That's probably not, because it's already we're already trying to get 18 games, and they already don't want to do that. So I don't think expanding to more overseas games is going to be in the books, because if they think 18 games is wear and tear on the body, like you said, these long travels, probably longer strategy days, longer practice time, the practice schedules, everything is going to be shaken up, jet lag. I don't see him expanding further than what they're doing now. Maybe adding they added an extra international game this year, like a what I mean?
What do
Like
they already
3 or
have?
4.
You got
That's what
Brazil,
yeah.
Spain, Germany, England.
So that's
They're
four
wanting
right
to
there.
hit up Australia, but Australia is a bit of a haul.
So, me personally, I don't know that they might. If Roger Goodell's in office still, by that time they might. But me personally, I just think that you're asking way too much now of the NFL. Like, it's cool we're playing overseas, but like, keep the main thing if you want these players to play for a longer time. I don't know.
I think it's a matter of time. I think it's just a matter
You do,
of
really?
time. Because as they continue to make travel easier, if you will, just in terms of technology of being able to get from place to place so quick. I mean, Mexico is not that far, right? To be able to expand into Mexico. It's just a matter of time. It's going to happen. The money is too great already. There's a reason you're going to Brazil. There's a reason you're going to Germany and England and Spain and all that, because they make a S ton of money. So they're going to want to do it more and more.
That would be.
So I agree with Gus and his comment on that they're trying to expand the fan bases more so than expand franchises. One thing I think would be interesting to see here, we know that the Europe League failed, right? It did not maintain, but much like we've had failed second leagues here in the States, right? The XFL, the USFL right now is struggling once again. The Defenders just won it. We didn't even talk about the Defenders.
Let's go!
They won the
championship. Coach of the year, first year of the squad. Let's go.
And you know, but that league struggles, right? It's just, I think it would be interesting to see those leagues move out of the States and see if they can't be successful as a secondary league in those areas. And then let them have like the B talent, because the problem is those leagues are barely watchable, you know, because the talent's just not there. It's just not and that's the sad part. So like when you're talking about expanding, you're diluting talent level. And so I see another decade plus of expanding where games are played. And I can see in the future where maybe the Commanders have, you know, their away games, like their travel games, we'll say, their outside United States games are always going to be at this location, right? They're always going to be at Frankfurt. Now they're Frankfurt's team, right? I see it that way. A lot of talk was with Jacksonville early, a couple of years ago, about Jacksonville potentially being like the England team. And they went back-to-back years in England. That's what I think that we're going to see. I don't think that we're going to see I don't think we're going to see another NFL Europe. I don't think we're going to see a team based, maybe Mexico eventually, Stoner, just like you have, you know, some you have other US based sports franchises in outside of that, like the Toronto Raptors we had mentioned a couple times, right? Like those, there might be something like that in the future. Canadian Football League has been going strong for years, but that's almost entirely different sport. Right. But yeah, Mike, that's my best answer for Mike's question here.
And if they want to grow the fan base, that's possible. But I saw somebody on the side said that soccer is going to be the number one sport in Europe, no matter if we play an entire season over there, because it's different than it is over here. Over here, some were raised in the sport, but over there across seas, that's like their livelihood, like traditions, all this stuff. Like since they were coming out,
Stoner and I know those European soccer fans,
right? That's what I'm saying. Like they go crazy. But here you had to, I don't know, it's just different atmosphere. So they can try and get the fan base cool, but it's not gonna be like, oh, we need an NFL team here. Nah, they got soccer. They good.
Well, we appreciate you, Mike, with that $10 super donation. We had some really good conversations. Big E, I forgot to answer this one for you, but there's no chance they play the original fight song with the throwbacks. That was the topic du jour, was the new uniform being revealed. We did talk about the NFL being king. Got some extra talk, because I know some of you had been loving, wanting us to talk Wizards and some of these other DC teams, because we do like those teams as well. But normally, and we saw the numbers dip quite heavily here from the uniform talk to this other discussion. But we appreciate those of you who stuck around. We do stream live every Wednesday here on YouTube and Facebook at 7:30 Eastern. We appreciate you when you get to join the conversation. Just make sure you hit that like button for us as well. I didn't say that nearly enough for Stoner to give me a gold star today. But maybe I can have a gold face mask to go with those new uniforms. And of course, the linebacker discussion early on, where I told the Philadelphia Eagles fans to stick it. We do, in fact, have the best linebacker duo in the NFC East. I'm Nathan. That's the Stoner. And that's Trev. We're Ref the District. And until next time,
uniforms are fire. They're just fire.
Yes, sir.
Be a fan.